Hey everyone, Sawmill Charlie. Well, it's another Friday night. I want to say hey Randy and Mike and Bill and there's another and then Randy again. So we'll go ahead and drop the link here. I think I got everything pretty much set up. There we go. Pin the link. Links in. Hey Roy. Hey Hope. Ron. Greg. Hey Pete from Canada. Here comes Mr. Bill out of Woodstock, Virginia. And there's Matt. So what's happening? Anything nice and hot down there today, was it?
Yeah, it was a little warm. A little warm yesterday too.
Yeah, I think it was like 80 degrees yesterday. I want to say it was pretty close to that today.
Yeah, it was pretty warm today. It was a nice day today, nice day yesterday.
So. Yeah, we got, I don't even know what we would even call it. We got any rain today. I mean, there was some, but oh, I don't know. It just it wasn't hardly enough to wet the ground and all that.
We didn't even get that.
I mean,
they were calling for it, but we didn't get it.
I think it more or less made the blacktop kind of wet looking, and that was as far as it really went, and all that kind of stuff. And like I say, it wasn't any real benefit.
Yeah, I don't even think it got out of the 60s here last night.
Yeah, it's 62 right now. I don't know what it's going to get cold or not. I want to do some oxalic acid vapor, possibly this weekend. Hey, Tom.
Good weekend for it.
And all that. But so that's what I'm planning on doing here. Hopefully this weekend. I don't know what everybody else is doing as far as vaporization and mite treatments and stuff like that. And all that.
Hey, Keith.
Hey, Greg Dunn. And let me see. Greg, are you new to the chat here? I'm not sure. I haven't seen you before. Hey, Roy.
Hey,
Roy. So anyway, that's what's been happening here. The bees, Haley. You watch quietly. Okay, Greg. Hey, Greg, where are you from? What state or country, or in Canada? Or are you here in the United States? What state from? Just interesting. Try to keep my notes up. But anyway, was down around the sawdust pile at the mill there, and the bees were down there. There's a little area down there, down in Mississippi. Okay. Down there where it's hot.
Yeah.
And wet sometimes. And they were trying to forage for some water, some moisture there. There was a little bit of dampness, I'll say, in the sawdust. I don't know where it really, I guess maybe, and they were all kind of flying around trying to get some of that. I just came from another chat that I usually am on, and they were talking about the same thing that I've been noticing in my hives. The bee, even though it's, beautiful weather and it's nice and warm and it's good flying weather, I have not seen my bees really, like normally in the summertime when there's nectar flow or something like that, full force out there flying around. and all that. And that's pretty good, Roy.
That was pretty good. That was a good one, Roy.
They were flying, but some of it I was seeing where the bees are. I think there's some brood being hatched, and I'll say the new bees are coming out and they're orientating, kind of flying just right in kind of front of the hive a little bit. And I've started to see some of that. And there's the unlikely beekeeper, and what? So unlikely beekeeper. Hey Vince, uh, from up in Canada. There, see here, the troops are coming in from Canada right now.
Yeah. All Roy had to do was make that statement.
But and there's Ian. See there? Told you.
Well, there's a young lady down around Charlottesville that has a hive service business, and she's noticing that most of the hives that she services are starting to get light.
As far as feed,
No, as far as honey stores. So, and
you know,
they've had some pretty good weather down there.
Right. Let's see. That's what Charlottesville is, Virginia.
Yep.
Charlottesville, Virginia.
Southeast of me.
Okay. They've been talking about that. I mean, everybody kind of feeds their bees differently when it comes to the fall. I do all sugar water. I do close to 2-to-1 sugar water. I this year, July and all, especially in July, there was a late nectar flow, not normal for me around here, and I had taken my honey supers off by that time, and they had pretty much packed away the top medium super, which is a part of the brood chamber. I get run 3 mediums. The top was completely full of nectar that the honeybees had gathered on their own. And then I came behind them. Let's see, I'll say around the 15th of September, and I put the top high feeders on them, and I poured the sugar water to them. And yeah, I'm all fed up, Charlie. Peabody's apiary, which is I think that's down there, and oh my goodness, that's Ryan down there in Charles County. Yeah, that's what I thought, Ryan. I've been watching your videos a little bit, Ryan. I fed them to the point where, like I normally do, I feed them to where they stop eating, stop taking the sugar water. And then I just keep leapfrogging the super or the top hive feeder contents from one hive to the next hive that's still taking it down. And it always seems to work for me. And anyway, my hives are, pretty, I think they're pretty, they're not light by no means, I don't think.
Yeah, we're doing good. I mean, we pulled feeders now, I guess 2 weeks ago, and
Right.
they've been put to bed, but they're flying some. They usually don't get out till 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They fly around for a little bit and then they go back in. But
Yeah.
we still have plenty of stores on the house.
Yeah.
Not
Ryan from,
by any means.
yeah. Peabody, Ryan, we haven't had any rain. We got, it wet the blacktop today, and that was it. It was not even worth even talking about. And that was early morning type of thing. We need rain terrible. But like I say, my highs, as far as I'm concerned, are well fed. They're jam packed full of sugar water honey and regular honey. We were talking on the other chat. there's this, what would you call it? There's the other train of thought I would say is that there's a lot of folks out here that like to feed through the winter, and they're talking sugar bricks and they're talking fondant and that kind of stuff. And I know some of my folks in my club, they will feed liquid feed this time or maybe a little bit like I did, let's say late September into October. Normally October after the 15th, it gets cold and it stays cold.
Yeah.
And
It the longer your bees can go on the honey, that goes back to the old adage, you leave at least one box or 60 pounds of honey for every hive. And sometimes I'll leave 120 on a hive.
well, I look
And
at it this way. For me, I have three mediums. The top medium is definitely completely full of honey or sugar syrup. And then I think that the bees stored down around the second medium, I'll say around the cluster, or maybe around there might be a certain amount of brood comb open for the queen to lay. And hey, Mark, and you see, that's the thing. Unlikely beekeepers doing the same thing. What he's seeing the same stuff, and but they keep taking the syrup. So okay, let me bring that up and read it, or everybody else can read it. They keep taking syrup, so I'm not sure what's going on. One thing that I took away from Michael Palmer, some people will put a quart jar up on top and so many holes. And I put up a top high feeder. And one thing that he had made mention that a quart feeder, I'll say, regulates how much feed can go into the hive at one time. And they'll most of the time bees will eat it up or use it for brood, and they won't store much of it. Whereas a top high feeder, it comes in so fast they have to store it. To me, it flips the switch in their head to store it.
yeah, and Peabody's got to, I think they're on the right track. Uh, as the brood emerges, yeah, they're backfilling with honey or with nectar or syrup, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
As she slows down for the winter, yes, they definitely do that.
And then Ryan, everybody at Peabody Acre is Ryan. He's near broodless right now. And I was in this a friend of mine's hive 2 weeks ago, and they are definitely broodless. And I actually seen the queen walking around on one of them, and she's not laying any eggs, but they they had a ton of hive beetles in there, which in my acre, I don't see that too much, but his hives were in the edge of the woods, which is notorious for having hive beetles. And
But
then,
if you
let's
look
see.
at the picture up there where the two gentlemen are standing working with that hive on that stand, that bottom box is a deep. The next one above it's a medium, and that's my brood box.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Brad. And then two above it are honey supers. That was
Right.
left on for the winter last year.
Right. You got background noise, Brad? Radio or TV or something?
Oh yeah, hold up. Yeah. Sorry about that.
I was going to ask, yeah, we were discussing this same issue about, honey and single brood chamber management and the bees and the size of the hive in a single brood changer. One guy was stating, you only need about 5 or 6 frames of bees. And I said, well, Ian gets on there and, and I've seen him on these videos. You pick the thing up and you got a box of bees there, and I says, to me, having lots of bees in there is a lot better off than having a few amount of bees.
Yeah.
You need, especially in the, for us, if we're keeping our bees outside, to me, you need extra bee power in there to keep the hive hot and stuff like that. I guess
Yeah.
he lost connection or something, Brad did, but I don't know. There's always a lot of different opinions and stuff. Personally, myself, I like my hives to be chock full of bees, ready for spring and ready to hit put the honey supers on, ready for them to go to work as soon as they can, as soon as
Yeah.
anything comes in.
Yeah, ready to hit that nectar flow when it happens.
And all. And then Peabody, hey Bracken. Ryan's saying that Ian doesn't have more losses to starvation with all those bees and longer winter. Yeah, the main thing let me put this in that the whole deal is the other chat is more of a beginner chat, and there are some experienced people in there, but they're pretty opinionated. I'll put it to you that way. And you're back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I don't know. But what I was getting at is that they're pretty opinionated. And let me put it to you, it's the one person who was so opinionated. Nancy was telling him about, what's a science guy's name? I think he was on Alberte's YouTube channel. And the guy he's just not a YouTuber kind of a guy. And he's, well, where's the link at? I said, well, go to Herberto's YouTube channel. You can listen to the science guys talk about small hive beetles and what they're trying to figure out with Keith Delplane down there at the University of the Bee in Georgia and stuff like that, And, it just, and he's talking about the mountain camp method. And I says, that is so, this is my opinion. To me, the mountain camp method is so beginner, It's just like, maybe I shouldn't say that, but I just my opinion on the way I feel about it.
Well, I'll say this. You keep bees in an area, you know your environment, you know your climate, you know your bees. You do what's best for your bees in that climate.
True.
And that's what gets them through the winter. I mean, we can sit up here all day and say, no, you shouldn't feed liquid feed, but like Brad down in Louisiana, he can feed liquid feed all winter. We can't. Because we'll kill more bees than we feed if we do that.
Right.
So you have to know your climate, you have to know your location, you have to know your bees and what works best for your bees. And yes, it takes a while to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be an experienced beekeeper.
The only ones I ever put any sugar bricks on was like little nukes or something that got light during the winter. But except for like 2 or 3 weeks, we can feed like 2 to 1 all year long.
Yeah. And see here,
a lot of the beekeepers.
If Charlie and I feed 2 to 1 all winter long, we're going to kill a bunch of bees. Because by the time they go up there to get the cert, and the time they get back to the cluster, they done froze to death.
Yeah. A lot of the beekeepers that send to California, the big ones around here, they feed year round just to make them build up.
Yeah.
And it also talks about, like you were just saying there, it depends on what you're trying to get your bees to do. Like if you're building up and you're going to go to California, you want to make grade and all that kind of stuff on the almonds and stuff.
I mean, they feed pollen patties and everything else.
Yeah, it looks like my comments are getting backlash.
Yeah, they're coming back to you, Charlie.
Yeah, Ryan uses mountain camp more for a moisture control thing. Yeah, I said, well, I usually if I have to uh if I'm doing emergency feed, I'll do a sugar brick or something like that. And
I
You
mean, we
talk about
always use just
the
dry
mountain camp.
sugar.
That's just the mountain camp. That's just pouring just dry sugar on top of newspaper, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've
Yeah,
never.
or you can take a hive top feeder and pour the dry sugar in that hive top feeder, and it gives you three things:
Mm-hmm.
moisture absorption, insulation, and food.
Yeah. But if you're looking at the condensing hive with the insulation on top and everything else like that, the
Yeah,
water's supposed to go
you
down the
don't want to do
side.
that. You want that heat dome.
You want that heat though. Let's see. Well, I have. But anyway, and that also goes with the fact of like we've been talking about queens. Or Brad here basically requeens every springtime, right, Brad?
Well, the middle of the year.
Middle of the year, like in
Yeah,
June.
because the queens that I got in the springtime are just they were in the July and August queens, June, July, and August. So they won't be a year till this coming summer. So like this spring will be their first spring.
Yeah. So you're going to get rid of them in June.
July and August.
Yeah. And then they'll go through your quote winter and then
Yeah.
come in to and go through your honey season and then hit them again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, via honeybees is saying basically the same thing I said. You know, you know your area, you know your bees, you know your climate, and you proceed accordingly.
And it depends on how you're set up. I'm set up to mix feed, put it in a 40-gallon tank and pump it. Just
Yeah.
like Tom and Melissa there, they got a tote system. They just put out a nice mixing video of his mixing unit. But he's like me. He's got a skid steer with a set of forks, like you got, Bill, and then I've got a forklift, so we can raise all that stuff up and put it in the
Mhm.
back of the truck and that kind of stuff. So that's why we do what we do, and also the sheer number of hives. They have about 100+ hives and
Mhm.
all that.
It depends too, like if you how much do you want to feed? I mean, like me, I don't feed a lot because I leave a lot of honey on the hive. Like, I do double deeps. I never harvest that any honey out that second deep, just from three supers on up. I never touch what's in the two main deeps.
Right.
So,
This is
uh,
interesting.
so all my big colonies, I don't have to feed. They full of honey. Matter of fact, whatever they ate up during the dirt, when I brought them down to two hives after the
Right.
honey, they do go into it and eat some of it, but it got replenished with the fall flow. We don't have a big enough flow to add a super, but we have a big enough flow to fill out what they ate during the dirt.
Yeah.
And they did that. I mean, I checked all my big hives the last couple of days, and they feel like bricks. Like I said, the only ones I was feeding was the little nukes I made up with the new queens and stuff that I got in some six framers. Because they didn't have time. They wasn't here during the spring to build up the initial. So I have to feed them going through the winter.
Yeah. Now, Josie, she says,
Anybody talk to this lady about feeding or treating with Apigard in September before she did it?
where's that at?
Peabody's bees.
Yeah. I've missed it. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan had a lady use Apricot. Now they're down in southern Maryland, closer below the south part of DC, probably.
Yeah,
That
she
shouldn't have
should have
been a
at
problem.
least asked the question before she did that. Because September, October, you're either going to use oxalic acid or you're going to use Formic Pro, depending upon your mite count. You never use Apiguard in September.
Yeah, I mean, my concern with it is it has a good potential to shut the brood down, right, Bob Bill?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could. That time of year, oh yeah. You could
Yeah,
do
what I'm
damage
getting at is
in that time of year.
you don't want to shut the queen down if she's still laying. There's your winter bees coming in.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be shutting that down, that
No.
situation down, and all that. And then that's what Ryan said exactly. But yeah, I did. Yeah, well, Todd, you're out there.
He's out in California.
He's out there in California, you know. There you go, back to location.
Hey, JT, Kathy.
Who's that, Bill?
Very Kind Bees. It's JT, Barry, and Kathy.
Yeah. And his name is JP?
Yeah, JT Barry. He lived down here, a little town called McGackey'sville, Virginia.
Anyway, yeah, that's, I presume, Ryan, that was some lady in your club area down there, down in Charles County. Hey, Rick, good to see you. Well, actually, I guess Rick's down in Florida with his bees, transporting them from Kentucky.
He brings them to Florida during the winter?
Yeah, Rick's a commercial beekeeper. I think he's got 1,600 hives, something like that. He's out of Kentucky. He was the guy, he taught queenering at Hive Life, I think the first year up on stage. And then he is also honey judge, I think this the first year too. I'm pretty sure. And then second year at Hive Life, they had the Welch honey judges and all that. And hopefully everything's going good with you down in Florida. And I think you said you were making some, I think it's called red pepper honey or something like that. I think it's some type of plant in Florida that they go after. So what's happening down here? How warm is it down there in your place? 80 degrees, 90 degrees?
It was 87 today.
87.
And raining, so it was, the concrete was sweating and everything else, so much moisture. We finally got rain. It's been raining the last 2 days. We had been dry for at least a month or so or more.
Yeah, I seen where you guys, Brazilian pepper, that's what it is that Rick's after.
Yeah.
And it says that was a bust down there, I guess because of all the hurricanes and stuff and everything. Yeah, Tom, that's the problem with Heshbeck. And then I heard that you also had him at your club one time too. And Bracken there, he's out there in Utah at 87 degrees, and then he's in the desert. Of course, it goes down and like it's freezing at night.
Yep.
No, I think he put 87 degrees with quotations, like not quotations, exclamation marks, like I said it was 87. He's got 31.
Oh, he's got
Morning.
Oh, okay. I got it. 31 degrees. Man, that's cold.
Mm-hmm.
That's not unusual in the desert.
He's right next to he's
I'd have to go
northern Utah, so he's close to the Rocky Mountains up there. If you watch his videos, you'll see the mountains in the background and stuff. But
Mhm.
he's got to irrigate everything out there.
That must be
His high was 47.
I just can't imagine living in the places where they got the water is controlled and stuff like that. It's just I just can't picture it because I mean we don't have any control over water around. We use whatever we want to pay for is what we use. So
Yeah, I mean here we don't have any irrigation systems or anything like that. Not around our area. We're just dependent on the weather.
I mean we got irrigation, but they're called bayous.
Yeah, that's your little kind of like canals.
Yeah. They're well, we got canals too, but canals are considered more narrow and deep than a bayou. A bayou is something that it might be a little bit wider and a little bit more shallow than a canal. I mean, down here, people got different meanings for everything.
Yeah, yeah. As like Bracken is talking about, it's just like in the world, all those Western days, they were talking about water rights and stuff, and I've been out there close to the Grand Canyon where they had a notice of people, stealing water or whatever, and that's a big deal out there.
Yeah.
Well, we actually had a episode of something like that here, which they got a problem going on because we have a national park, not a national park, it's a state park called Spring Bayou.
Mm-hmm.
And it's consisted of a bunch of lakes and acres of woodage for deer and stuff like that. But a lot of people have camps and they do a lot of hunting, fishing, and stuff like duck hunting on this public land. Well, down the road, which is connected to it all by woods and fields, is a couple of farmers that have rice fields. And the bayou what it is, our canals drain into our bayous drain into the river, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Is a bayou a creek?
No, it's not a creek.
it's swamp.
We don't even have creeks around here like what you're talking about. Usually all our canals are man-made, if that makes any sense to you.
Okay.
Our canals are man-made drainage and stuff like that. Our bayous they're not rivers, but they connect. Usually bayous go from lakes to rivers and stuff like that.
Sound like a swamp to me.
That's what it sounds like to me too. It's a swamp.
Our bayous overflow into the woods, and that's what causes the swamps and stuff.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Well, we've been having a drought for like the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Well, the farmers out of the bayou, they've been pumping water into their rice fields because they want to fill the rice fields up for duck hunting, and it's a big business. They get all these big shots. They come down here and they duck hunt in these rice fields with these ground blinds and stuff. Well, since we've been having a drought, they didn't have any water to fill the rice fields, so they've been pumping the water out of the bayous, which has been draining the lakes of Spring Bayou, which is a state park. Well, the state park is getting so low that the boat launches and stuff like that are getting hard for people to launch. So it's been a big thing in the newspaper. They want to sue everybody, and they're trying to get at the farmers for draining the lakes. And they said they had this flood stage where the water goes over the dam, and once it gets down so low, the farmers are supposed to stop to keep from killing off any fish and vegetation in the lakes.
Right.
Well, they didn't stop, and the law is not doing anything about it because the farmers are filling it for the politicians and stuff to go hunting. So you see, it's a crooked deal. The politicians, they made the law, but they don't want to obey the law because they want the benefits of what's coming down the road.
Yeah.
Because
which is
because nobody wants to wait around for the rain. They want to make sure that water's in them rice fields for the big duck hunts.
Yeah, but when something goes wrong, they always blame it on the farmer.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's not just it's the farmer's fault too, because he's making money off the politicians going to his rice fields. Okay, because he's renting all these rice fields for these big duck hunts, and he's the one taking the water out the bayou to fill these rice fields up. Because he don't need the water for the rice right now, because usually by the time November rolls around, the end of November, we have enough water everywhere anyhow because it rains so much. But if they wait for the rain, then it's a little too late for the opening weekend of duck season, because they like to have that water there for a couple of weeks ahead of time and get the blinds all set up and stuff like that. So every year we have a drought. It's a big fight in the newspapers and the TV, but nothing ever gets done because it's everybody's scratching everybody's back. So the only one who really pays is the middle class people, because they trying to go in their state parks to fish and hunt for free, because it's taxpayer money, and they can't do it because the politicians and the farmers have drained all the water. So it's a fight. Well, now it's finally going to be over because it rained for 2 days, and now everybody's going to be happy again.
Yeah. Well, there's what Barker does. He's out there. I've never seen a lot of they have a canal, and then the canal drains into, like, I call it a ditch, and it's like a mile up the road or more. It takes so many hours to get the water down, and then they take these pipes, like siphon pipes, and then they flood the fields, and then the water actually floods across the field. And here, I call them little berms. The way I get it is they have like alleyways where the water follows the alleyways down through the field and all that. And he's got the field tapered and all. And then he was showing where he had some hives, I'll say up on the high ground or something. And I mean, the grass is just brown. It's that dry. And I've seen Todd out there in California. His grass gets real brown like that.
Yeah, I don't see how anything grows, because they must have different vegetation than what like we got from around here. Because like I said, when we get a couple of weeks or months of drought, everything wants to die because it hadn't had rain in weeks. So it's got to be a different vegetation and stuff that can go through long periods without rain and stuff.
Well, now Brackens said I got it figured out. My thing is that high ground, it doesn't get any rain, but only by natural resources. What can you do with that ground? You can't put cattle on it and let them graze or anything because there's nothing there to eat. So Pete out there, he's in Colorado, south of Denver. He's going to get more snow. So they're starting to get snow out that way. Anyway.
There is a cold front coming through. I've been looking like on a 10-day forecast, because I think like the end of next week, we supposed to be highs of like the lows in the 40s and the highs in low 70, like 71, something like that.
Oh, it's just terrible.
So that's our first little cool off we're going to get down here. So.
Well, that was the biggest thing is like we were like back with talking about queens, where you got to your queen, she's reproductive wore out within a year, because she's basically laying 12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
And you got to get rid of her so that you can, and I know you said you had experienced where you were losing hives, and all that.
Every year, I mean, I was losing. I couldn't figure out because I was losing. They were dying off in the wintertime, and the first time it happened, I thought it was mites. Then I started treating my mites heavily, and I was going into winter with, 0 mites and stuff like that. And then I still started. So I started like, because everybody says, oh, don't open up your hives during the winter. But I had to start seeing what was going on. And I started pulling open hives. and the ones that were dying off started having spotty brood, and then some of them like no brood and stuff like that, or very little brood, and if it was just spotted all over the frame. Well, they
And
were
for you, not having no brood is not right
no, it's not right.
at all.
So I said, oh heck no. Everybody started saying new queen goes gangbusters, so I just started doing that, and the last 2 years has just been awesome. Having like right now, all the hives got bees packed. I mean, they're packed full of bees. So
Are you running singles, I think, or your doubles?
I got some singles, but mostly doubles.
Okay.
And I do that.
Do you
Just
find your singles running out of feed before the nectar flow hits?
oh yeah,
Or,
yeah.
or do they manage better?
No, they'll like all the only ones that I got as singles are the ones that I just started off new this year that didn't get a chance to build up into doubles.
Mhm.
But I'll have to watch them close, because if they build up too much and they fly all the time, they're gonna go through their food. So we pretty much, if you're gonna I mean, there's different types of bees that you can get. Like I forgot, is it maybe the Caucasians that go down a lot during the wintertime?
Yep.
Mhm.
That you can run singles and stuff, but I got mostly Italians, and they fly and they eat a lot of food. So
Yeah, they do.
um I found it just better off just to have two deep. That's why when I first started, I was doing a lot of feeding. And I said, heck, this is getting too much food, because these Italians would eat me out of house and home. And they're like, so I'm just going to start leaving an extra box on top and doing doubles. So I started doing that. And like right now, I make sure what I do is right before the flow ends, when I pull my honey off, I put a queen excluder in most of them and like make it a single brood, and let them finish filling up that top box, just solid food with no brood. That way, when I pull the queen excluder out, they've got a full box of honey on top of them, ready for the dirt in the winter.
Hey, Kim.
That's a good idea, Brad. That's the way to do it if you're going to run a double box.
Mm-hmm. Because if I leave them that second box that I've been finding out, shoot, she'll go up there and lay it up, and
Yeah.
then I'll have more bees and more to feed. So during the dirt, I rather them come down a little bit, reduce in numbers, because when the fall flow hits, that she's gonna start pumping it back out again. So it's kind of hard.
Well, that's like I say, back to the thing, knowing your bees, knowing where you live at, knowing your weather conditions and how your environment reacts with your bees and stuff like that. For me, normally I'll say from August on, there's pretty much a dearth as far as nectar flow. There is some pollen. We'll get a September, we'll get the goldenrod. It's for me, some people get a nectar flow out of it. I just get a little bit of pollen out of it. So the bees might get some nectar, nothing to really manage, but they pull the pollen in big time at that time.
Yeah,
No.
goldenrod makes a lot of pollen.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. But I'll say this: goldenrod honey is not very good.
I've never really tasted it, except for maybe on a hive tool or something. But
If you can
it's
get past the smell, then you
yeah,
can
it
taste
smells. It's, like right now, when I go by the hives, it smells.
it.
But I've
Smells like
never.
an old rotten tennis shoe, doesn't it?
Mm. When I first started raising bees and I started smelling that in the fall, I thought I had hives that were dying. Because it smelled so bad. It almost smelled like the smell when you got hive beetle larvae and
Yep.
stuff like that in the hive.
Yep.
But then I realized it's just that goldenrod making that honey smell, which I don't mind it now, because since I got a lot of bees, I like the extra feed.
Yeah. It's money.
Mm-hmm. So that saves me from going to Walmart buying couple of bags of sugar for $20 a bag for 25 pounds.
Tydrone there, he had a bad day.
Who's the?
It was a wet, cold day, and then he got the truck stuck, and then the generator broke down, and all that stuff.
That's one of them days, bad days on the farm.
Yeah. And all that. And I know that Tom and Melissa, they're getting ready for their big convention in their local bee club.
Did you see the video Mike Berry put out with the convention, the Mississippi?
Yeah, I like that. That was nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's his name there? Hilco, he had a big display over there for such a small convention. He had a lot of everything there.
Yeah, he did. And he sold everything too.
Yeah. That was surprising because our convention in Louisiana is a little bit big. I'd say about a third more people.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
what would you say? I mean, what kind of a people count are you saying at it?
I'd have to guess. I'd say anywhere from 600 to 800 people, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And his was what? Probably what? 300, 400?
300 or 400, something like that. But I mean, I did like the place they have it, where they had lots of room and stuff for the.
Look, to me, they had a little bit tight area for the vendors as far as in the vestibule there.
Yeah.
Where they should have had, they had the main room, I guess, is where they had their speakers at. They seemed to be quite big.
Yeah, that was a big area. They could have put the vendors in there with the. I guess maybe they wanted to separate the noise or something, but.
Yeah, they do. Well, I don't know. I mean, as far as Hilco going there, maybe he had some pre-sales, saying, hey, I'll bring. Well, they said they had sold them right there with some deals or whatever. Yeah. So maybe there wasn't any pre-sales.
I seen one of his extractors. I seen that big 48 frame extractor on his website. It's like, I don't know, $3,800, $3,600, and he has it like a knobby sale for like 33 or 34, like a couple of $100 off. But he had that sign on that one, $3,000, and it was sold. I mean, that's a big discount.
Didn't Mike say that was a joke or something that somebody bought it? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think the names they put on there was a joke for each other, but the sticker price was $3,000 on it. So I mean, that would have been a big discount for that extractor. I'll have to watch it and see if it was the actual price. What size do you have?
I got an 18 frame.
18?
18 mediums or 9 deeps, I think it is.
Yeah.
That's plenty good enough for me for what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And all. I don't. Bigger machines like that, and then you need a honey house. You need a dedicated space for something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't have a dedicated space. I don't plan on having anything like that. My stuff is kind of have to be portable and stuff. So and all that. So yeah, he's got a lot of stuff there. I don't know. Maybe it's just marketing. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't quite understand with Mark or Mike Berry was talking about. There was some commercial guys there that was looking at his machinery or whatever it was. I'm not sure what.
Yeah, he said he was surprised at how interested they were in his stuff, but I think they were basically saying, "Wow, this stuff is cheap," for the quality and stuff of it. So he said they, from what I understood, they weren't that interested in buying the equipment. They were just looking at it, and they noticed how, a good deal it was.
Right. I know they seemed like they were lined up for Formic Pro,
Yeah.
some deals on all that and all that stuff. But I would say if, somebody's got 1,500 hives or 1,800 hives, they would be buying that by the pallet, at a
Mhm.
cheaper rate. I mean, you would have
Yeah.
so many 30 pack boxes on a pallet if they're using that product in their big corporate, high, thing. I
Yeah.
mean, you're down there amongst them all. I don't know what didn't you say some of them, don't you? In your area,
Well, yeah, not from Mississippi, but yeah, from our area. Yeah.
from your
Uh,
area, they got what 1,500 hives or more down in
oh
your
yeah, yeah. One, the big one down here. Well, of course, he's it's a multi-group. They're one company, but they have like a bunch of beekeepers in that one company. They have like
Mhm.
8,000 hives.
Hmm. So I
But
mean, somebody
yeah,
like that. Are they using Formic Pro? You know,
the one that I went to his actual bee farm, I didn't see cases of Formic Pro. I seen a lot of oxalic acid and them. You ever seen that one Bob Benny has, that one with the long shoot where it pumps it into the bottom of the hive, the oxalic acid?
oh yeah, the
Yeah.
bazooka.
Yeah, I've seen those there. But everything, like you say, they buy everything on pallets. I mean, because when we went inside his barn, that was pallets of a sugar brand that I've never even heard of from Louisiana. He must get it shipped from somewhere. I don't know where it comes from, but pallets of um, frames and all kind of stuff that was already made and wrapped up in his storehouse boxes. And I mean, there's nothing bought in loose singles and stuff like that. It's all
Palletized.
pallets of stuff.
Hey, Philip. Yeah, I mean, I would think, Bill, I mean, he's supplier, you buy it by the pallet probably,
Yep.
you
I
know,
do.
and, it's a different price at that level,
Yep.
all that. So,
The more you buy, the cheaper it gets.
hey, Brad and all. Yeah, Tyrone, we were talking about Hillco down at the Mississippi convention, I guess you would call it, and all. I thought, what was the one? I know Tom and Melissa were going to go to the one. I thought it was down around where you guys were at, but they canceled it here a couple months ago.
Oh yeah, the Slidell. It was called the shoot. He makes a product and he named the
Super DFF or whatever. I think he's a rep for them or something.
yeah, but he has a I forgot the name of the convention they called it, but yeah, it was in Slidell, Louisiana, and they didn't have enough vendors and enough participation or something, and he canceled it.
Yeah, the Be Alive conference. That's what Lee says.
Yeah. So what's his name? He has a company name or something that's very familiar. If Lee remembers what it is, it's not Be Alive. It's called something else. He has like
A husband and wife team. I do know that, and they do package bees and queens. I think the Bee Commander.
yeah. There you go. The Bee Commander.
I'm not sure what. I think they're up north someplace originally, or one of the places they do. But anyway, but I was just thinking about the queen thing. But like up here, 2 years for us as far as queens. But I got to figure out. I don't know. Are you doing queens? Let's say in June, I guess, Bill.
Me?
Yeah, latch all queens.
We start grafting middle of April.
But how late do you have queens? Or
Usually end of August, first week of September. If if all goes well during the year and we don't have another drought.
Darren says one of his bee commanders is swarm bait. I don't know much about that. I don't really get into. I know something swarm commander is.
Swarm commander, allure by Nell, is they are swarm baits. You just barely touch the bottle when you spray it into the swarm trap. You don't soak it. You just barely touch it. It's enough. And that's all you need.
Darren says he wants some of your Latshaw queens.
Not a problem. You come pick them up because I don't ship them.
And I'll
meet you halfway with them.
I might get a few myself.
So what they got down there, change the subject, down there in Kentucky to do down there around the bee convention?
Not a heck of a whole lot, Brad.
You go tour Churchill Downs.
Yeah, where I stay at the Hilton there's the Churchill Downs across the road there about a mile or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then the only other thing is I went to the that's where the Louisville Slugger is, the baseball bat. If you go downtown, which is not, it's not a, when you downtown Baltimore versus downtown Louisville it's definitely different.
Yeah.
And they got the factory right. I'll say, the main factory right there, and for a price you can take a tour of the factory, and it's figure about an hour or two.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting. And they, show their pro bats that, they kind of size the bat up to the pro to his specifications.
Yeah.
And
How
then
about like other
they
tourists,
like
other tourist attractions? Like,
there isn't any that I know of.
Well, there's always Charlie's Famous Eatery, Cracker Barrel.
so you saying my wife is going to be bored while she?
I think so. I
Yeah,
wish
she probably will be.
there's the baseball bat factory,
Churchill Downs.
Churchill Downs. You can take a tour of that if you're into racehorses.
Mhm.
Somebody told me about something just north of Louisville.
Do they have any malls and stuff like that?
Well, I'm sure they do.
I'm sure they do.
I just didn't know what kind of city it is, or I've never been there myself. Never.
It's okay. It's like, it's got a river and, but it's in the wintertime. So the showboats and stuff like that are on the river, they're all shut down. And, I don't know, like you say, Brad, it's not like it was down there at
Cedarville.
Yeah, Cedarville and Gatlinburg and all that stuff.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff for you to go do around there.
Sevierville was a big tourist trap.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
How about places to eat?
Well, right next to our thing is the Cracker Barrel. That's the one that you can just walk to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know Ricky Rourke we went, it wasn't close by. We went out to some kind of a Mexican restaurant type of thing. And it was, we had it was like Joey and everybody you could think of a lot of the chat folks here on the chat. We all got together and had a something to eat prior to the show starting the next day. And all that kind of thing. And I think Tom and Melissa and myself were trying to work with JW. JW seems to know a little bit more about the area and as far as places to eat and things. And well, Brad, you come on down and come to the convention. We'll all go down to the Cracker and all that. But yeah, there isn't a whole lot. I mean, the logistics of getting people there through airplanes and hotels and stuff like that is great, but and the facilities is huge. I'm buying dinner for myself. And so but other than that, it's kind of kind of lame as far as for non-beekeeping folks.
Yeah. Well, she's none beekeeping. I said she's none beekeeping.
Yeah.
She's honey eating, but none beekeeping.
But I don't know. There's we've been looking around for places to, some place that we can really have a large group. But we had about 30 or 40. Sawmill Charlie experience. Okay, whatever. And
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We could always get a large group in that Mexican restaurant that serves steaks.
Yeah, we could do that. And you say, Bill, you were there that night too?
Yeah.
You were
I was there with a bunch of people from Virginia.
Okay. But you were in the other room, the other part of the room?
Yeah, I was in the other part of the room.
And was that actually two different restaurants or two different styles of restaurants or what?
One side of it's a steakhouse and the other side of it's a Mexican restaurant. But if you sit in the Mexican restaurant, you can still order a steak.
Yeah, because that's what I did.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to go back to that place. I'm not sure. It was parking was good. It was kind of out on one of the interstates. I kind of got lost coming back to that. And Lee was there, I know, and Tom was there, and Tom and Melissa were there, and I think Phil was there, and there was a whole bunch of us there. It was a good time. And
then we went to an Indian restaurant down there one night. Bob Benny happened to be there when we walked in.
Okay, and now Tom said Melissa's got an idea about a restaurant close to the hotels. That's fine with me.
Yeah, there's a Mexican restaurant there close as you come out of the gate 4 on the right-hand side right there.
Yeah. Hey, Jarrett. Hey, Matt.
Did you drive? Did you park or did you shuttle to the convention?
Well, I drove, and yes, it cost money to park, but I had stuff to pick up. Just like this year, I got a couple cases of frames to pick up, and I'm not carrying all that stuff around with me, and I'm not dragging it on the damn shuttle either. Shuttle at the Hilton goes right there to it. There's some other shuttles too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about the other motel rooms. Where are you staying at? Do you know, Brad? Have you figured that out yet? Hampton Inn?
It's either the Hampton or the Hilton. I have to ask my wife. She booked it.
Yeah. Well, the Hilton's, if you look at a square up on I'll say the 11 o'clock position
mm-hmm.
is at the 4th gate, and that's where the Hilton is. It's also farther away from the airport because these other places are close to the airport, and they give you free earplugs, and if that don't work with the airplanes coming in, they give you headphones, is what Phil says.
Holy shit. I'm going to have
to. I stayed at one of them close to the airport last year, and flights stopped coming in and going out about midnight. And then they start up again at like 4 o'clock in the morning because it's a UPS hub.
Yeah, it's a hub. That's why the cargo airplanes coming in and out, in and out,
yep.
in and out, in and out. Even we could hear them coming over top of ours, but they're still high enough to where they're not quite as bad. The room pretty much deafens the thing.
I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm gonna have to go ask her where she got that booked at.
and all that.
Remember the
So
name of the hotel you booked at?
she
Me,
did.
no. No, my wife did it. I don't know where. It's either the Hampton or the Hilton. I don't know which one it is.
That's
She
where
always likes
I'm
she
staying
likes-
at the Hilton, so you're right there with me. And that's
You're
the
at the
same
Hilton
place
too?
I stayed last year.
You stayed at the Hilton, Bill?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just looked at the location of it, and I liked it because the gate. I mean, if you walk outside of the hotel, you're like 100 feet away from the gate that goes into the parking area. But you got to drive around in a great big circle to get up to the front doors of the place, and all. It's a huge outfit.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
You know, as far as the it's got to be what, 40-acre complex.
More than that.
At
Now,
least.
I got another question. Like, if you pre-order stuff, do they make you pick it up on certain days, or you
No,
just
you
Well, that's up to the vendor that you're pre-ordering it from. If you're ordering from me, you can either pick it up the first day or you can pick it up the last day, but you have to pick it up the morning of the last day. So, because we got to have that storage area cleared out.
yeah.
So that means you can bring my boxes and put it right in my car, right at the Hilton.
Yeah, if you do, Brad, if you do Facebook, look up North American Honeybee Expo on Facebook and join the group. And the picture that's on their main page is a picture of the vendor area last year.
Oh, okay.
Now that vendor area is going to be bigger this year.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's to be multiple rooms. I think.
Can I show them this picture, Charlie?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, do they have like you remember at Cerealville, they had the little back dock you can load up your stuff? Do they have something?
Yeah, there's a dock that you have to go to. That you can't put it out the front door.
Yeah, okay.
That's the vendor area from last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one room. It's a huge room.
You can't even see the whole room. That's just part of it.
There we go. Yeah, Tom's got a bill pickup. But
I've got orders from several of
one thing is nice is Hilco is providing these hand carts, flatbed carts with a rack on the end of it, you can push it with. And you can borrow. It don't matter if you buy something from them or you buy it from Bill here or wherever. You can get one of them carts if it's available and pick up your stuff and then roll it out to the back area there where the loading dock is.
Yeah, he said he was going to have twice as many there this year as he had last year. He had a video of that. He also said he's going to have a booth area of like 2,500 square feet. Is that right?
Say what?
He said he was going to have his vending area was going to be twice the size of last year. He says it's going to be like 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I think it's like
area is going to be bigger.
Yeah, I think it's like 3,000 square feet for what Hilco's going to have.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
but everybody is, from what Cayman was saying, everybody said that they were doubling their size in a lot of it.
Like last year, I had a 10 by 10 booth. This year, I got a 20 by 10. And if I go back next year, it'll probably be even bigger. And the floors, he told me the floors going to be laid out differently this year. Instead of doing straight lines, they're going to do pods of 4 to 6, maybe 8 vendors per pod. So, like, I work with Acorn. So last year, Acorn and I were back to back. And he says he's going to keep us in the same pod this year again.
Well, good night, Lee.
Night, Lee.
Good night, Michelle, Michael. Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite understand that concept, whether how that's going to make it any better or less.
Well, it gives more room per vendor basically. Instead of having a straight line, you're still going to have somebody next to you, but it's going to be more room per vendor in front of their booth.
And I'm sure that you can go around and each, there's going to be alleyways between the
Yes.
next pod. And
Yes.
it's a little bit more, I'll say,
Shopper friendly.
Shopper friendly, I guess. Customer friendly, yeah. All that stuff. So is Darren still, or not? Is Ryan still on here, Peabody? I was just wondering if he was, whether he could come on and give us an update of what he's doing down in Southern Maryland, or anybody else can, for that matter. But yeah, that's the thing, Brad. Like you say, as far as other stuff for the other folks to do, there's not a whole lot that I know of. I mean, there's probably stuff out there, but I just don't know much about it, about the area. Pete wants to know whether or not you think the dates will affect the turnout at Nobby. I don't know. Some people have a problem with it. I don't. I mean,
I don't either. I think it'll make it better, make it bigger. To be honest with you.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't do anything with New Year's Day or anything like that. That's not a.
No.
It's not a huge thing. It's not huge for me at all. You know,
We're leaving New Year's Eve, and we'll be down there by noon on New Year's Day to set up.
That's what I was thinking about doing myself, was traveling about halfway New Year's Eve out into West Virginia is the way I'll go.
You're a brave man.
Huh?
You're a brave man.
Yeah, I know. I was shoveling it, trying to get ahead of the damn snow coming home last year.
You better take that snow shovel with you.
Well,
that was
Tom, I'm never going to turn down help to set up. You're more than welcome to help us set up.
And all. Yeah, I got my tickets and room all booked months ago.
Yeah, we were tossing around whether we were going to go back as a vendor or not. And I went ahead and bought tickets when they first came out and got a room set up. And then we had a change of heart to go as a vendor, decided to give it one more shot. We did well last year. So it looks like with all the pre-orders we have, we're going to do pretty well this year. So,
well, yeah, give us your opinion on the vendor side. I mean, you got more vendors. Do you get to the point where you get too many vendors?
No, because everybody's different. You have the vendors that, like Man Lake, the Dant, they bring woodenware, and they bring a little bit of their niche equipment.
Hey, Joey.
Like myself, I'm selling the Sawmill extractors. I'm selling the Enel hives, and I'm selling acorn frames and foundation. So I'm like a specialty vendor down there.
Yeah, because I knew there was on the other beach chat that I am on prior to mine. There was one guy who has his ticket and he's coming to coming to Nobby for the first time, and he's, I'll say, a 2-year beekeeper, maybe 3-year beekeeper. And his comment was, well, everybody's selling the same thing. And I said, you don't have a clue. I says, it's bigger than you've ever seen before. I said, is it? It's nothing like a local conference or state conference. It's nothing comparison to anything.
No.
And I said, it goes from products for the backyard beekeeper to products for the
Commercial.
commercial guy.
Yeah.
I said, Calvin will be there.
Yep.
You know, I said, I'm not going to buy something from them, but I like looking in that kind of stuff because I'm a machinery oriented person, and I like knowing about it and how it works and stuff like that, so I can
But
talk about
if you ever thought about buying anything from Cowan, that's the best place to buy it from. Is a big conference like that, because you get a better price on it there than you'll get any other time.
it. Hey, Randy, I'll talk to you later. So yeah, so anyway, that's what I told this guy. I said, there's stuff there that I said there's some things there they had some kind of machines for making cream honey, mass producing cream honey, which I didn't know anything about. And I said, there's there's just things there that you don't even think about. That's
Yeah.
telling me about, like Brian with his Queen Right dials. I said, you're not going to, you might see them locally somewheres, but most, I said, that's the kind of stuff that you're going to see, things that people are, trying to sell, something new that's on the bee horizon, like those vapor smokerizers, the one they're $300,
Oh, the Anel smokers.
Yeah, whatever I don't even know how you pronounce them, but and then I seen like labeling machines and stuff like that. I know a friend of mine, Brian. He's from around my area, and he's going towards heavy duty sideliner / commercial, and he was really looking at the labeling machine. Maybe not right now, but down the road for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So Joey, what's happening?
Not much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good and loud.
For some reason, my external mic wasn't working, so I had to disconnect it. It's been a busy day. I've been trying to go find bucket lids to make some feeders with. Those kind that screw on, 5-gallon buckets.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The hardware store close by me usually has them. They didn't have any. I called another one. They didn't have any. Run all the way to Covington, which is an hour away. Checked with Lowe's. They didn't have any. And I said, what's up with this? Y'all always got those lids. He said, I guess somebody forgot to order them. I don't know what happened with them. But,
I know Lowe's has stopped selling. I used to buy my 90 mil food grade buckets there. They stopped selling the 90s.
Yeah.
All they got is the 70.
Yep.
And I ain't using those no more.
No, because I had one split on that.
Yeah, I had 2 of them do that before.
See, can you see that bucket?
Yep.
Mhm.
Well, actually, this is going to be probably in maybe next week's video, but it's got that lid on it where it screws on like this.
Yeah.
And I got holes drilled down in here
That's how we do it.
where to work like bitty feeders.
Yep.
And nobody had them. So I had to change plans because I already got my syrup made up and everything.
Why don't you just you don't put it in a tote with like some pine straw or something?
Well, that's what I got. I went and got some of these smaller ones. I don't do but like 5 gallons at a time, and I think this is a 10-gallon tote. So I'm making something like that. The only thing I don't like about it, the lid is that deep. It'll hold an inch of water if it rains.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm gonna have to cover it up with a piece of plywood or an old beehive lid or something.
Usually when I feed out that tote, although I mean I got a lot of I got almost 70 hives, but when I feed out of a tote, I have one that holds 2 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah.
And when I do it in the morning, it's empty by the end of the day. So I ain't got to worry about rain. I just leave the lid open. I fill it with pine straw and pour 2 buckets in there. And when you look over, I have an old wooden swing set that my kids would use when they were little. And I got it by that swing set. You can't even hardly see the swing set. It's such a cloud of bees over there. And they land all over the wood on the swing set to lick theirself up and clean themselves after they just got out the tote.
Well, that's why I like that bucket. It slows them down.
Yeah.
You know, because they're having to actually get it out of there. I've seen them dry those little cavities up, and they'd have to get down there and actually suck it out the little hole.
Yeah.
It slows them down where it keeps them busy, where they won't try to rob other hives so much. That's my main concern. They're not really hungry. They're still heavy. But tell you, I saw some fighting going on around some of my hives. I think one got took over, but it wasn't that big anyway.
Well, fellas, I'll call it a night. I got to work store tomorrow. So,
All right,
good
Bill.
evening.
All right, we'll catch you later. I think we're gonna shut it down here in another half hour or so.
Yep. Y'all have a good evening. See you later.
All right, we'll see you.
Night.
So
I'll tell you what slows them down too. I have you know those little jar feeders? I have a bunch of those jar feeders that I set on those swing, and they just go in and out of that, and it takes a long time for it to go down because it's really all depends how many holes you put in the lids, but
yeah. I got some 1 gallon ones over here that I use. You can set it on 2 boards. I even got some little holders where I can set it down in there, and it gives you a void about that big where you can watch those bees.
check out Tractor Supply, Joey.
I actually, after I got to Covington where Lowe's was at, I actually thought about Tractor Supply, and I said, I didn't even think about them, and they were right there in town by me. But I will check with them.
how about you don't have any?
I've seen them screw on lids, but I can't remember where I've seen them at. I don't know what
Lowe's, Home Depot, and several hardware stores I know of. I used to see them all the time.
Yeah.
But not anymore.
Mm.
I even thought about getting the snap-on lid that seals real tight. This got the
gasket.
and I saw some of these at one of the feed stores. It's got the hole in it where you could pull the hole out of like a paint bucket and pour it out, you know. And I thought about using that, and I said that will probably start leaking too fast because it's not like the ones in these 1 gallon buckets up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now as far as feeding goes and everything like that, for me, I mean, I think my hives are fine. I don't know. Everybody's talking about how light their hives are, and of course, they were also talking about how they were feeding back in August, and I'm like, well, there was a flow here for me, or not a flow, but you know, early July. That top box was actually August. The last 2 years, we've had this spotter and lanternfly, which is the bug that excretes nectar out of the trees when it's sucking it out of the trees, and that was filling my top boxes, and I didn't have to do any feeding at all. Previous to that, you know, the hives would start shutting down because there wasn't any nectar, and she wouldn't lay anything, you know, and you'd have to give them maybe a gallon of water.
Yeah.
To keep them
well,
warm.
I was listening to y'all when Brad was talking earlier about what he does. I was in here busy doing something, and I was amening him because he pretty much does the same thing I do down here.
Oh, really?
And the video I was making today, I was making sugar water, and the video I mentioned when I get ready to start feeding, making sure my bees are in good shape in the fall starts in July when I leave a second box of honey on them. You know, I try to leave those boxes full, and I'll even shove some down in them. They've got a frame they've never touched. It's just plastic, didn't draw out. I'll actually a lot of times pull that out and push one with honey down in it.
Yeah.
It may not be a pretty frame, but it'll be a frame that's got honey on it.
Yeah, that's when I take out all my plastic that I tried to draw out. I'll take it out, and because they ain't after the flow, they ain't gonna draw it out.
No, they ain't gonna draw it.
Come the summertime, that's over for us. I've never really had any luck like Cayman Reynolds does, feed them and get them to draw a comb. I've never had that luck. They always just either backfill the brood up and just do it that way. But as far as building new comb,
Nothing.
nothing.
Now I had
You
those.
gotta have a nurse bee, them young bees.
Yeah.
I had those hives that I started this year. I got 5 double deep sitting in there on my row. And I had some drawn comb to get them started in the brood in the bottom brood box, but the next deep on top was, there might've been a few drawn comb, but the rest of them foundation. But like I said, I had that darn flow in July and August, which a little more stronger than normal, and like they're drawing that comb out and laying eggs at the same time while they're drawing comb out and stuff like that. So they pulled the wax for me this year, and then some, like a lot of it, they filled it too, and all that.
We got to have some type of flow for them to draw it out. I don't know why they won't do it like they do. Like, of course, he lives in the middle of the country. Like, where is it? He lives in Tennessee.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's different in that area as far as their flow goes and stuff, but
I think they have a later flow, maybe. Joseph, is that you, Joe? Or
No, it's not me.
okay, how to care for a weak hive during the mid fall? Basically, I presume it's still queenless or queen right. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Feed them and that's about all. Maybe raw, depending on where you're located at, Joseph. Whether you get in there and pull some brood frames out and put in there with her to build them back up,
and thin sugar water.
Yeah.
Not thick, because they won't brood on thick. They'll store and they'll backfill, where thin, I think, it gets her starting to lay.
Yeah, that and I don't know. It's one of them deals where if it's really super weak, that's where I combine them and get rid of the queen, because the queen ain't no good.
Either that unless a little queen that got a late start, she might have been a after swarm or something. If that's the case, you can stack them on top of another hive or close them up in the smallest boxes you can get or whatever.
Man, I used to just baby them queens and put them some frames of brood from another hive and put them some sugar water, put them a patty and rub them a little bit, make them start laying. Now squeeze them and pinch them and throw them away.
Hey, if they already in the box, I'll help them a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about them. I'm just going to let them do what they do.
I have no feelings to take the guillotine to them nowadays.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on the hive. If you know the history about it, if it's one that struggled all summer when you had a flow going,
get rid of it.
Oh yeah, because you got when you got a couple of hives, you got a good bit of hives, and you had 2 queens start off at the same time. You raise queens and you start these 2 queens off at the same time, and this queen has four.
Oh, here we go.
This one only has 2.
Yeah. Get rid of her. Ain't nothing but a headache.
What you do, you take your hive tool, and where you mark her on the back and her head, you split it right there in between.
Yeah, well, right here it is. All right, when he went to harvest, there wasn't nothing in the box. The whole summer they were flying out of the box, and it looked like they were, I'll say, good.
I'm
I'll say.
surprised they didn't try to replace her. You know, the
Yeah,
bees.
yeah.
They'll do that sometimes. They I don't know what it is. One that's not
They
doing
won't.
good.
They won't
It's probably
replace them.
their fault more than it is
Yeah.
hers.
Far as I'm going to say, Joseph, yeah, it's like forget her.
Yeah.
I pinch her and go.
I think the reason they don't replace them sometimes, I think it just was a bad breeding.
Yeah.
Like they didn't make good, but she's a bee with strong pheromones. So I don't know, maybe I don't know how it goes, but
Hope wants to know what do you consider a weak hive and consider weak in a single. I would, well, if you got a 10 frame single, if you only got like 3 frames in there, maybe 4. You know, I kind of look at it this way: if you ain't got a quote a box of bees, which
Yeah.
is 6 or 8 frames of bees in there, she's weak. You know, if she's only 4 or 5. First thing I would do is I wouldn't be in a 10 frame box. They'd be in a 5 frame nuke. And that if you're going to try to get them through the winter.
If
Okay.
they keep going backwards, that's a weak hive. If they stay in the same,
that's another thing too.
strong hive.
That's another one of my pet peeves right there too. That I used to do that I don't do anymore. You got a hive, okay? You have a queen that was in a 10 frame deep, okay, and you made honey off of her, and you come down to the end of the year or whatnot, and you say, "Oh, she's small. I better put her in a nuke." Why? She ain't never coming out that damn nuke, okay? If she could.
Oh, he froze up. I don't know if he's coming back or not. There you go.
Yeah,
Oh.
like
If she what?
I said if she ain't stayed in a 10 frame hive and you put her in a nuke, she ain't never coming out that nuke. Okay.
I agree with you. I agree with that.
You just buying time. That's all you doing. You know,
Yeah.
the only reason you would put her in a nuke is if you got another queen ordered and you want to keep the bees from getting like hive beetles or something like that, they don't have to guard so many frames. But if you think you're going to take a queen that come out of a big hive, that she once had a big hive, and she can't handle a big hive no more, and you're going to put her in a nuke, oh, she's going to do better?
Yeah, now under that circumstances, yeah.
Yeah. But
I guess what I'm thinking is that if I'm growing a hive,
yeah, that's a different story though.
I like to grow a hive, but yeah, you're true. That's right.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I do that myself. I take them out of a 3 frame, move them to a nuke, a 5 frame nuke, and then move them to a 10 frame. But I'm talking about people who they going through their apiary and they find a big hive and they say, "Oh, this hive is weak. I need to reduce her down to." There's no reducing down.
Well, right. Yeah,
That's a waste of time.
Here's Hope's. Here's what Hope's.
That means they're going backwards. They're going backwards.
Yeah, well, now he's got several hives, 6 to 7 frames of bees that are at queen white with little brood. Well, let's see. Hope, where are you living at?
Here, that don't mean anything.
No.
Hope, where you live at? That sounds normal right now for me in my area.
First time I went into a colony in the late December, early January, mid-January, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
I usually don't go in them, but when I went in one
Hope,
time, I saw a box was like a double deep of bees. Go in there and they'd still have plenty of food, but you would have 3 frames where all those bees are, and they might have 1 frame with that much brood on each side.
Mm-hmm.
Or most of the times it's 2 frames with that much
it's
brood
2 inside. Yeah,
2 insides.
Yeah,
but when spring comes, they start building back up good. So first time I ever saw that though, it was scary.
Yeah,
it scared me. I thought they were dying.
You'll come across that all the time. I mean, especially for us, because it depends. Like I was telling Charlie earlier, it depends what kind of bees they are too. Like the Caucasians, they do cluster down compared to the Italians like to have big clusters in the winter. Where
Well,
the
Italians
Caucasians-
and big clusters, then they eat a lot too.
yeah.
And Hope lives in South Carolina. So for me, I would say that's just about right, Hope,
Mm-hmm.
for your area. And Joseph, let's see, and they had zero honey when he went to harvest. Depends on whether or not you had a dearth in the area, if you didn't know nothing about. And of course, you're saying that you're harvesting from other hives. So obviously, there was honey bringing in by everybody else. Sounded like to me you got a queen that ain't worth a darn. That's what it all kind of pointing towards that. You can either try to get them through and hopefully get a queen come springtime or, do that. Or, I had a queen had a queen in my 10 frame hive. Didn't lay for weeks. Pinched her, put a new queen in, spent $30, late fall, bad time of the year to be doing that for acceptance rate. She laid up 4 frames of brood. They killed her. Then they started making their own darn queen cells. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done. Just smash the queen cells, take the cat brood and larvae, whatever was in there, put it in some other hive and got rid of all the resources and smacked all the bees out and put them in front of other, shook them. There wasn't that many bees in there. Shook some other bees on the bottom board or front landing boards of some of the other hives, and I was done. Take the darn hive away. And then I had a nuke. It had cap queen cells, went back in there looking for any evidence of mating. And it's, when it's late in the year like that, you're not going to have the drones. You got to remember your bee biology. If you ain't got the drones, you're not going to have a mated queen. And so there wasn't any queen, and there wasn't any queen cells. They had tore them down. So I had 2. It was like a medium and a deep, mostly of honey. So I put them on some other nukes that could use the feed, along with whatever bees were in that, and took the other box that was just open comb, shook the bees off in front of another nuke, and let them crawl in there, and took the frames and stuff, put them in the freezer, and I'm done. And it takes a long time to develop that attitude, and especially it takes you need to have multiple hives where you start to think that way, where you got to get it in your head. Look, it's not going anywhere. Just get rid of it. Save that precious wax comb for next year, and early spring make a split, or make a split with some bees and maybe buy a queen in if you need to do that. Or usually in the springtime, if you put some eggs in there, they're queen rearing for them making it their own queen is pretty positive and all.
You see what Philip said there?
Sometimes those huge hives will eat themselves out of house and home when they.
I tell you what, he's not kidding there. Especially like late January when the red maple gets started around here.
Mm-hmm.
A good strong hive. Just for comparison, in one of my yards where I just had like 5 hives, I had 3 of those hives were real strong. I mean, real strong, full of honey and everything. And they had this one over here. It was a single box, and they had got down like I talked about. It was like 2 frames with brood on the inside. And I'm thinking, these are all going. Why are you sitting here? I didn't know. I still don't know how to look at a bee and tell whether it's an Italian or what it is. I don't know that. So I don't know what I had. But anyway, those bees took off. I had to split them, getting ready, to do the splits and everything. And finally, when that little hive that was so small that I was wondering about, when it took off, I mean, they caught up with everything else, is what I'm trying to say. So I've heard. Let's see which ones does that. I know the Russians. I think they say they go down to real small and real conservative with their honey they use. I don't
Well,
know that.
the Russians and the Caucasians.
Caucasians, yeah, that's what I was really trying to think of. But uh, I still got that colony, so I'm probably going to try to get some sales from that one and see how that goes. Because when they did go, they caught up with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I even
And
ended up.
that's really a better bee to have if you're not like sending them to California and stuff, because you don't need no reason to have a lot of bees, and you know, if you're not ready to accommodate all those bees with honey or sugar water
Yeah.
stuff. That's why when we hit the dirt, you know, you see a lot of people, oh, there's no flow, I got to feed. I don't want to feed because I don't want them raising too much, because that whole box of food that I left them on top, they'll eat it if I just keep putting pollen patties on there and putting, you know, putting out some feed. They'll build up so many bees, they'll eat the whole box of food. So I just let them shrink down during the dirt. I don't encourage them to build up.
Yeah. Now, if they shrink down and don't have any food around them, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
If the brood shrinks down, but there's plenty of food, they're probably doing what their nature tells them to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I leave a whole box, but I don't put them pollen patties and stuff like to keep them going, keep them brooding up a lot. They'll do that in the fall whenever the goldenrod comes in. They'll build up enough bees for the winter in the fall. But as far as adding pollen patties during the dirt, I don't do it. Because them Italians will keep 4, 5, 6 frames of brood all the time.
Now,
The
Joe's
only pollen patties I've ever seen is when y'all put them on. I've never had a pollen patty in my hands.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
don't think.
had it.
Yeah, Joseph L. Greenhouse would help a weak hive. No. What you need to do there, the easy way to do it is make I'll call it a transition board. Well, let's see. If it's a 10 frame hive, just take and put a double screen board up on top of a hive that's strong, and the heat from the bottom hive will come up and heat the top weak hive and keep it warm and through the wintertime.
And that works.
And that works.
It works
And
very good.
And the only problem is if you're trying to feed the bottom hive, you got to tear that thing down to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But I done kept many, you know, new queens that I had raised late that only had like a frame or two of bees on top of the big hives, and it takes them all the way through the winter. You never have to worry about them getting too cold.
Yeah. Hey, Nancy. Yeah, we're talking about brood size. That was another conversation we were talking about on the other chat. Everybody has their opinion on that. And that's true with, you know, if the hive is unhealthy with mite problems and whatever, it's no sense in even trying to keep them alive. And Roy, that's a good point there. These carnioleans are frugal and small in the winter but come springtime, I have a hard time keeping them in the box during the winter. I'm amazed they survive. So there's the characteristics of a type of bee that you can get. And all that. So, yeah, we were discussing this size of the brood and things of that nature. I know Brad's on here. I mean, I know that Ian and Brad, they try to, you know, put a box of bees, as we call it, or as they call it, through the winter. And they were talking about brood size versus how much they eat. But I think it's also, like you say, the race of bees that you're running. And then also how cold it is. I mean, up in Canada, they get downright cold, negative numbers, and even in Fahrenheit. And those bees will totally shut down and not really do anything. And
I just like it cold enough where it knocks out the mosquitoes, and I'm good.
yeah. What do you have to do? Wear a mosquito net year round?
No, but when I go outside, whether it's just to go mess in the garden or anything, I mean, if I wear shorts, my legs get tore up from the mosquitoes in the grass and stuff. So I keep me a can. I have to keep a can off in my shed when I go outside. And I'm going to be working in the grass or anything. I got to spray because it's just now when we have a dry time of the year, it's not so bad, but when we start getting that water that, everybody got mud puddles and little ponds and stuff, then mosquitoes just raise like crazy. And then when I go hunting in the woods, if there's a lot of water in the woods, I mean, it's horrible. You ever heard, I'm sure you heard of thermocells.
What is it? Thermo?
A thermocell. It's a little heating device that you put a little pad and it makes a smoke. And you hang it on your side, and it keeps the mosquitoes out from around you while you're hunting and stuff.
I never heard of that. That must be a Louisiana thing.
Yeah,
Here's
I mean,
a question from Joseph here. You're talking about robber bees.
just reduce the front entrance or shut it down until the nighttime.
Yeah, they killed a five. I'll say a 5-frame box hive quite fast.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing of it is you can reduce the entrance down, but they were robber bees, and obviously something happened to that hive. They lost the queen or something. They didn't have the defense to be able to protect those hives. I've had that too. And there's not a whole lot you can do about it. They're going in there. That hive was probably dead, more so. The bees that you've seen in there, most likely were all robber bees.
I had a hive that got robbed out. It was a hive that had just requeened itself, so it had shrunk down a lot. And I noticed all there wasn't no action at the front of the hive, and I went in there, and when I opened it up, the first few frames I pulled out, I could tell that it had got robbed. All the honey had been chewed out, and when I got to the end of the other side of the box, the queen and about a handful of bees was stuck to the side wall. They had migrated all the way to the other side, I guess, to get away from the robber bees, and then there was a whole bunch of dead bees on the bottom to where I guess they fought and stuff like that. But they had gotten small while they were trying to requeen themselves and couldn't defend that hive, and other bees just, I mean, when you got a lot of hives, there's no chance of them stopping them. So they're gonna once they figure it out, it's over.
If I catch it in time, I'll plug it up where nothing in it can get out and nothing outside can get in.
Yeah,
and
you gotta shut it down.
Just at dark, I'll go open it back up, and if any of the bees that belong there are on it, they'll eventually crawl inside during the night. And then I'll close it back up and relocate that hive. You can't leave it there. You got to relocate it because they're going to come back the next day with a vengeance. And if it's not too late, any robber bee that you locked up in there now belongs to that colony. When you relocate it, that's going to be their home.
So Doug,
you know,
as far as the flow and the brood size, it all follows the flow. Flow slows down, brood slows down. Flow starts, brood starts, and all that. And then Nancy said,
"You'll see it. Let's see. I think it's the video that comes out in the morning. I had bees attacking the long hive. I can't do that to a long hive. I just left it alone. Whatever happens, happens. And you can see down at the bottom, once you start seeing those wax particles in there, it's done. you know,
Yeah.
down on the ground. But I just said it's
Yeah.
too late. I'm not looking in it. I'm not wasting my time. I'll come back in a couple of days when they get through cleaning it up, you know.
And then
So
Ron also is a good suggestion. Don't use an entrance feeder. Absolutely not. You talk about
that's exactly right.
talking about something that will incite robbing. When I first started, I put everybody had entrance feeders, and I
Mhm.
asked this experienced beekeeper. I said, I got these bees. And he says, "What does it look like? A tornado of bees on top of your hive circling around?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, they're robber bees. They're going right into your hive."
Those
And
are okay during a good season when you know it's like a good heavy flow going, and you catch a swarm and you want to feed it a couple of jars of sugar water.
Yeah.
That time of year, they're okay, you know, because nobody wants it. Nobody wants that sugar water then, except maybe them. You know, it'll help them build wax. But any other time of the year, you're gonna cause some robbing in a hurry.
Yep.
big time, especially in the fall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, far as like you say, the entrance feeder, just throw it away or put it up on top of your inner cover and put a box up on top of it, and put a lid up on top of that where you encase it so the bees can come up and feed off of that way. That way you stop the robbing situation. But that's kind of where it's at when it comes to that way. Tom, what did Tom say? Tom says, "Don't worry about hives that get robbed out. If so, the hive is weak and not worth any time." That's true. But trying to, if somebody has only 2 hives, that's hard to swallow.
Yeah, it's depressing whenever you got 2 hives and something happens to one or
Yeah. Somewhere along the line, you get immune to that. I don't know when it is, but
when you get too many.
There
it's
you I'm
That's
not even
that's when I got immune to it. When you get too many.
yeah.
domesticate them to be like a regular hive. No, they are robbing for their own hive.
Yeah.
Oh my. Nope, Joseph. That's just the way beekeeping is. You can block the entrance down to a certain point. Usually it's in the fall. It's when the robbing season kind of starts. Just stuff that you have to learn as
Oh
time
yeah.
passes.
When
Yeah.
Learn by the rules of hard knocks.
hey,
I
look,
tell you what else a cause robbing too.
I'll be back.
I've noticed it the last several years, especially in them long hives that's got the screen. If you got screen board bottoms,
they smell
a
it.
lot of times if you got a reduced entrance, those bees will actually come to the bottom and bring food in.
Oh,
Especially if
really?
yeah, I've seen it a lot. And
You mean
it's not noticeable.
they pass it through the screen?
They pass it through the screen. It's not that noticeable on a regular Langstroth, but on those, uh, because the screen is kind of recessed up in there from the bottom.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
like on my long hives, you can see them. They get under the bottom and they're passing food. They're passing something through there all the time. But on the same level, uh, when that's open and you go in a hive this time of year, and all it takes is just a few drops of nectar or honey that you brushed when you pulling a frame up, you knocked it down and it falls on that screen on that bottom board.
Yeah.
Next thing you see is a bunch of robber bees flying under there. You can see them all under that thing trying to find out how to get in there.
And boy, it don't take long either.
Yeah, just like the video that's coming out in the morning. I didn't even show this because I'd already closed down and everything. But if I'd have been in that hive a couple more minutes, I think I'd have had a mess because bees were flying around and around it. It was a solid bottom, but they were trying to figure out where that smell's coming from. They were looking, and I closed them down, and the box had one little old rotty spot in the corner, and bees were trying to get in it right there. And I said, "That's robber bees." I went and got a paper towel out of my truck. I wet it and just crammed it up in there tight as I could get it.
Yeah.
Do they
Oh.
eat that out, look, Joseph?
No, they're still hanging there now, but the hole wasn't big enough for the bee to get in there, but it was drawing attention. So when I packed it in there, that smell went away.
Cut the smell down.
Yeah.
I like sometimes when I'm around the hives and you see them robbers, they come buzzing around the entrances. And if you got a small entrance, like a round hole entrance, you watch them and the robber will land on the hole or whatnot. And then I like seeing that the guard bee just jump on him and attack him and fall down to the bottom. And they wrestle. You can actually see what goes on, what they're doing to keep the robbers away. It's amazing how when a bee that belongs to the hive just barely touches him, he lets him walk on by. But that robber comes and he knows right away, you don't belong right here.
I watched the bee trying to get in one time, and it got the one bee. It was, because I keep those little small on a lot of my hives. There's like 3/8 high and like 4 inches wide. And this one robber bee was trying to get in, and there was one bee there, and that bee went in, and the guard bee just kind of spun around and said, "Oh, well," and I'm thinking, he's thinking he'll be back out in a minute. It wasn't, that thought went through my head. It wasn't like 3 seconds. Here come 2 bees dragging that thing back out of there.
They know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess
how
they go by some kind of pheromone or just like, the way with the queen. But
well, I've heard old timers say that it's that. Plus, if they come in empty, that gives off a signal too. If they coming in empty, something ain't right.
It's Pop secret, Frank.
See what Galloway Light said there?
Yeah, is it kettle corn?
Yeah. When you got a good flow going, if you got screen bottoms, get under there sometimes and look at them. If your entrance is closed up, now if your entrance is wide open, you probably won't see that much. But if it's closed up tight, you'll see them feeding in the bottom a lot. I don't know why they do that, but they do. Passing it through. I've even seen, now this ain't flying bees, it's got to be young bees, but I've even seen them, like once I put a third deep on, a lot of times if I'm using the inner cover, I'll flip that inner cover over where that notch would be down and slide the lid out, where they can use that as a top entrance to slow where more traffic can go in the top instead of the bottom.
Yeah.
I have actually seen, just like ants, bees coming out, just a whole row. They're never coming back. They must be going down, but they're coming out of the entrance, crawling all the way up to that top and going in, just like ants. So I figured they were carrying nectar up to the top.
Instead of going through the whole hive.
Yeah.
Lambrook is extracting honey from dead outs and everything up in New Hampshire. And all that.
Yeah, every time I find a dead out, it's usually empty. They done robbed it.
Yeah. Most of the time I put that in the freezer just in case I found it too late. I put it in the freezer and feed it back to somebody. One more question.
How's make splits?
That's a good subject for later in the year. We'll be talking about that a lot next few months.
Yeah, splits. I mean, we're talking that's springtime. And if you got, depending on how many hives you got, Joseph, well, I like making nuke boxes, 5-frame nuke boxes, and then growing up in that and then transferring them to 10-frame. But let's say you need to pull out, let's say 3 frames of brood, frame of food, maybe frame of pollen. And if you put eggs in there, you could, and then we're talking when it's warm, April, and where I'm at, you can let them make their own queens unless you can buy some mated queens. If you buy mated queens, then make that box up and put it where you want it, and put the mated queen in there, and let them, be queenless for a day or two before. Then put the queen in there and pop the cork and let her come out in 3 days or so.
Our mentor, when I was first learning how to do that, he had a slideshow on some of the stuff he done. And one of the pictures he always showed was 10 bowls of potato salad. And every one of them's different. And he said, all y'all got your own potato salad? And he said, I got mine. And we all going to make it the way we want to make it. And that's kind of the way making splits are. There's so many different ways to do it. I mean, there's no one way to do it.
The best thing is just start going on YouTube and watching videos and see how everybody.
Yeah.
How there's so
I
many.
got plenty of them on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
You can go back and find them, but it's a double deep. You can split them in half and just walk away from it. What they call a walk away split. But here lately, I've been last few years just pulling nukes out and put them on top of a double screen divider board and let them make them, or either put a cell in it, kind of like Charlie was saying.
And then, like another thing, if you can't find the queen, for me, like let's say a nuke, I will shake the bees off of the frames that I want in my nuke, put them in a box.
Yeah.
I put a queen excluder between the box it came off of with all the bees in there. And then the nurse bees will come up through the queen excluder, populate that 5 frame nuke. You want to make a split. They don't know where they live at because they're not really flying. Then you can take that box and they'll populate it probably in 30 minutes. I've seen it happen that quick.
Yeah.
And you can pull that box off, put it on a bottom board with its own lid and everything. Make sure you have an entrance reducer, very small, inch wide maybe, at first. And either you supply a mated queen or a virgin if you got somebody that's selling virgins, or if it's in the springtime and you're doing like a demery or something like that where you got brood way far away, they'll make their own queens. They either make their own queen, so you can take that frame with that queen cell and put it in that nuke, and it'll hatch out naturally and make their own queen. Or like I said, you can do a mated queen, and it's just how you're going to get the queen. That's the main thing, and all that. And just like Matt said, same thing.
The easiest way for me, I love using those double screen divider boards, but there's a couple of different ways I do it, and it's a long process of explaining how to do it without skipping things, but that just makes them so much easier. And one of them starts like you said, when you pull the frames you want, shake all the bees off, put them on top of that queen excluder, let them crawl back on there, then take it and put it on top of a double screen board on top of that hive. Or if it's already later in the spring when it ain't going to be hot no more, you can take it and carry it wherever you want to take it and let them make their own, or put a cell in it, put a queen in it, or whatever. Just so many ways. But I even like the old way I learned, just put that double screen divider board in between 2 double deeps and come back in 7 days and see where your cells are. You're gonna have a
Yep.
queen in one box and cells in the other,
Yep.
and go from there.
And like Tom said, you can also can catch swarms if there's any swarms around you. Most of the time, the swarms are your own bees. All right, Tom, we'll catch you later. Well, guys, it's about a little after 10. I'm going to go ahead and shut the chat down, call it a night, and got to work tomorrow too, also, and all that. So I will catch you all later. See you next Friday
All right.
night. 8.
Good
Well,
night.
here comes Philip here. What's Philip going to do? You connected yet, Philip?
Hey,
We're still on the air, Philip.
we are. Oh,
So
God.
what's your language?
Better watch my language. Well, I was going to tell you, Charlie. Okay.
Hey, Bracken, if you want to pop in, Bracken, go
I
ahead.
got to mute my. Hold
You
on.
got
There
what
we
in
go.
your hair?
Okay. Which, let's see here. Let me try to get back to stream. There we go. Yeah, I was going to tell you, Charlie, you're surrounded by 3 people that are born in Louisiana. But I just want you to know I'm on your side because I got my popcorn.
All right. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and shut the chat down. We'll just stay in here. Hold on.
Good night,
See
everybody.
y'all later.
See ya.
Uh-oh. There's somebody else sneaking in the back door.
I can't believe